dedication.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Abel Sanchez, Gennady Golovkin's trainer, he just recently said to Michelle Phelps on Behind the Gloves that Gennady Golovkin not only will beat Andre Ward, but he'll beat Sergey Kovalev and Adonis Stevenson as well. But, of course, there was a but to that, right? Gennady Golovkin, he's fighting at 160, and he's not at the light heavyweight division right now, but Gennady Golovkin's trainer, Abel, he said that those are possible future opponents. Now, what I think is so ironic about Abel Sanchez saying this is all of the professional boxers and many fans, they have been asking Gennady Golovkin to basically do what Kell Brook just did, what Amir Khan did when he fought Canelo, what Adrian Broner did when he moved up and he fought Marcos Maidana. A lot of professional boxers, trainers, promoters, managers, etc., are asking Gennady Golovkin to do just that. Move up in weight, move up 2 weight classes and fight the best fighter there. And now you have Abel Sanchez saying he can beat those guys, but we're not going to move up there right now because we're staying at 160. You know, this is the whole thing. With Gennady Golovkin, I have no problem with Gennady Golovkin trying to unify the belts. You know, I've already told you guys, like I just told you in my very last video, Golovkin versus Danny Jacobs is a great matchup, right? Golovkin versus Billy Joe Saunders in the UK is a good matchup. But let's just be realistic for a second. Which opponent, which champions are going to do more for Gennady Golovkin's legacy if he could beat them? Golovkin versus Ward Kovalev winner, or Golovkin versus David Lemieux? Golovkin versus Adonis Stevenson, or Golovkin against Martin Murray? Those are obviously rhetorical questions. I mean, once again, don't get the message misconstrued. Golovkin, he can fight against Danny Jacobs. Let's just say hypothetically Golovkin, he beats Danny Jacobs. He beats Billy Joe Saunders. After you beat those guys and you still plan on fighting another 3-4 years, then like I just said in my last video, it's time to go to the next chapter in the Gennady Golovkin story, right? And the next chapter should be at a different weight class. This is an opportunity for Gennady Golovkin to really challenge himself. If Gennady Golovkin could beat Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, and Adonis Stevenson, do you know what that would do for Golovkin's legacy? If Golovkin could beat those guys, he could retire after that. Hell, if he beat just one of those guys, he could probably damn near retire, saying, yeah, I moved up from middleweight to light heavyweight and I beat Sergey Kovalev, I beat Superman Adonis Stevenson, I beat Andre Ward, any of those guys. You beat one or two or all of those guys, now you could truly say you are top 25, one of the greatest fighters of all time, like ESPN has already said Golovkin is. Then you could really say you're that, right? I mean, Those are the type of signature wins that a Gennady Golovkin needs to really be considered top 3 pound for pound, number 1, whatever, one of the best fighters in the world. Trust me. Matter of fact, you beat the winner of KOVALEV versus Ward, you number 1 pound for pound, the best fighter in the world. I mean, hands down. You know what's so crazy is fans, they demanded and they asked Floyd Mayweather to fight the much bigger, much younger, stronger, undefeated Canelo Alvarez. Floyd, close to 40 years old, he did it. When Gennady Golovkin was calling out 168 pounders like Chavez Jr. and Carl Froch, Andre Ward, he called out Golovkin and he said, hey Golovkin, if you're going to come up to 168 and fight fighters like Carl Froch, I already beat Carl Froch. Why don't you fight me? I'm considered pound for pound number 2 the best fighter in the world behind Floyd Mayweather. So Andre Ward, he calls out Golovkin. Golovkin turns down the fight. What do the fans do? The fans that defend Golovkin, they say, Andre Ward, why don't you leave Golovkin alone and go fight somebody at a higher weight class like Sergey Kovalev? Why don't you move up to 175 and fight Kovalev? And what did Andre Ward do? He called their bluff, and that's exactly what he did. So I'm bringing all of this up to say that when fans demanded or asked these fighters to challenge themselves, fighters like Andre Ward, fighters like Floyd Mayweather, and many other fighters, they took the challenge. Even Roman Gonzalez, he moved up to a higher weight class and he beat Carlos Cedras. But when fans and many professional boxers, and when I say many, I do mean many. I'm talking about Julio Cesar Chavez, Paulie Ayala, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, Robert Garcia, the WBO president, Teddy Atlas, Anthony Joshua, Ruslan Provodnikov. And these are just names that I know of. There's many other professional boxers that have said the same thing. I would love to see Golovkin challenge himself and fight Andre Ward. Now that Ward is fighting against Kovalev, a lot of them are saying, I would love to see Golovkin fight the winner of Kovalev versus Andre Ward, right? So once again, when fans asked Andre Ward to step his game up, take the challenge, he did it. Floyd Mayweather, he did it. Many fighters, they did it. But when they asked Gennady Golovkin, why don't you fight one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world? Move up in weight. He hasn't done it yet. But according to Gennady Golovkin's trainer, ABEL Sanchez, he'll beat all of those guys. He'll beat all of them. So, you know, I hope for the boxing fans, Gennady Golovkin, you know, regardless if he gets the Jacobs or Billy Joe Saunders fight or not, I really hope, with Golovkin being considered one of the hardest punchers in the sport of boxing, he moves up to 168 or even moves up like Kell Brook did, moves up 2 weight classes and faces pound for pound some of the best fighters in the world, because 175 is definitely where it's at. If you want to be considered pound for pound number 1, number 2, the best in the world, you have a lot of people that have Kovalev as number 1, or you have some people that have him as number 1. And you have a lot of people that have Andre Ward as number 1. ADONIS Stevenson is somewhere in the top 10, right? But the bottom line is, if Golovkin could do what Kell Brook and Amir Khan could not do, that alone would be very impressive. I would love to see how Golovkin deals with bigger, stronger fighters. But bigger, stronger fighters that have an improved skill set on top of all of that, compared to, you know, his opponents his previous opponents. We know Kell Brook, he had the skill set, but he didn't have the natural size. So just imagine a guy who has a natural size and he has a skill set to go with it. And it doesn't have to just be Golovkin versus the light heavyweights. Like I said in my last video, Golovkin versus James DeGale. That is a good ass fight right there. And it's so crazy because after James DeGale's last fight, he got hit a lot against a very aggressive fighter. And, you know, he was on the ropes. He looked a little uncomfortable on the ropes. After I seen that performance, I said, you know what? I think Golovkin could probably get James DeGale. He might be able to stop James DeGale. But then after I watched Golovkin versus Kell Brook, then I had to kind of pull back a little bit. Now, I don't know. Now I'm looking at that as a 50-50 fight. So, you know, there are a lot of opponents, a lot of great opponents out there that could really, really boost Gennady Golovkin's career when it comes to legacy status. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Like I said, Abel Sanchez trainer, he said that Golovkin could beat them all. He said Golovkin could move up, he could beat them all. Well, he didn't say he could move up. He just said he could beat them all at 175. Let's see if Golovkin fights any of those guys or ever does. Do you guys think that Golovkin will ever face one of those guys at 175? That's all I got, guys. For now, I'm on to the next one.